Hey friends, so I got some requests about doing some more basic explanations of how to read your own chart. And specifically, a question I got was about how to understand current transits that are happening in relation to the houses of your own chart. The houses of your own natal chart describe what area of life a transit is going to affect. So if there is a full moon or a Mercury retrograde, or something significant like that going on, it's going to be affecting everybody collectively. But when we look at it and compare it to your natal chart, we're going to get clues about exactly where this transformation, growth, shift, what area of your life we're looking at. So if you want to understand how to look at that, this video will show you. I talk a lot when teaching astrology about the archetypes and essences that make up the signs and the planets and the different bodies. Because what I think is so cool is once you really understand and feel and have a deep sense of the energies and the archetypes behind these different planets, behind these different signs, then you put the pieces together and the story just emerges. It's almost like the story jumps out at you. You don't even need to look for it. And that's when your intuition can really cue in to what's trying to speak to you. So that's when it gets really fun. But there's also just some technical pieces that we've got to know. So I'm going to walk you through understanding the houses and how to understand or what it means as far as where a transit falls in your chart and looking at the different houses. So to look at that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And as an example, we're going to take a look here at my own birth chart. What we have here is a layout of my natal chart. This is an app called Astro Gold, by the way. And what's cool with this app is that we can actually look at two layers at once of what's happening. What you're looking at right here is an inner ring, which is showing not every, but the pieces I'm selecting to look at of my natal chart. So we got Saturn and the North Node and the vertex and Mars and all the information about where these fall in my natal chart. And on the outside ring, we have the current transits that are happening. And again, Astro Gold is cool because you can move forward and backwards in time and you can compare what is happening. They don't pay me anything. I just happen to like it and think this app is cool because of that feature. So what you'll see here is that we have a ring here with each house, and each house represents a different area of life. I'll go through what those represent in just a moment. But you can see that in the natal chart, the planets all fall in a particular house, and that's not going to change. What is going to change is that as the planets move throughout the sky, they are going to shift into different houses. So this is one way that you could look at comparing where a planet is and what house it falls in. I'm going to show you another example, which might look more familiar to what you may have seen. This is an example of a free app called AstroSeek. And in this case, we would just need to compare two different charts, one for today's date and one for my natal birth chart. So I'm showing you this view because this might be the way you're used to seeing it. In this view, we've got the houses laid out on the side over here in a separate column. So if I were trying to understand, for example, where a current transit falls, let's say I wanted to know what was going on with this Mercury retrograde for me. First thing I'd be checking is where is Mercury? It's at 12 degrees of Capricorn. And in my own natal chart, 12 degrees of Capricorn falls in the third house. And right here we have the houses listed and we have the starting points of each house. So I would notice, all right, falls in the third house. Third house represents writing, teaching, communication, publishing, podcasting, ideas, anything of that nature. So this is the area that Mercury is currently traversing through for me personally right now. And so that's the area that I would be looking at as far as what kind of revision or rethinking or redoing might be asking to happen, since that's what a Mercury retrograde is all about. It's like an opportunity to dive deep under the surface of the thought processes that are normally just busy working away and go, all right, let's take some time to revision what's wanting to happen here. So that's how you would look at the houses if you were comparing two different charts in a layout that looks like this. You would have your birth chart here, which lists the houses that your natal planet is in. And you would have a description of where each house starts here. And based on those numbers and those placements, you'd be able to grab any planet and compare it and look at exactly what house it's falling in. So you can see, of course, why the AstroGold app is a little bit easier here, because it's just going to show you right away. Here's Mars, for example. Mars is also in a retrograde right now, and it's actually getting ready to turn around. This is a big deal. We're going to feel some good new forward moving energy in a couple of days from now when it turns around on January 12th. But I can see right away from looking at this chart that Mars falls in my 8th house. And that's going to give me a bunch of interesting information. I'm going to go through all the houses in just a moment real quick, tell you what they represent. But this is what we're talking about when you hear someone talk about what area of your chart a particular transit is happening in. This is what's interesting to look at, is looking at what house, which determines the sector, the area of life that this transit is particularly impacting. All right, so let's super quick just go through an overview of what the houses represent. First house is all about you, your outward presence in the world. It's your appearance. It's how you show up in your day-to-day life as you're walking through the world. If you were having big changes happening in how you were showing up in any way, from, radically changing your hairstyle to completely in some way transforming the way you're showing up in the world, it'd be interesting to look at what's currently happening in your first house. Second house is all about money, security, and material possessions. It's about security at its core, but in our society, security is very tied into money because that's how we pay our bills and survive. So money is a very big piece of the second house, but it's your sense of security, your sense of belonging, your sense of comfortableness and groundedness and solidness in this physical world. Third house, as we mentioned, is all about teaching, writing, publishing, communicating, anything like that. Fourth house is about your family, your roots, your family of origin. It's also about your home, both your physical home space and the energy of feeling safe at home in the world. Fifth house is creativity, creative projects. It's a very joyful, exuberant house. Children, if having children is a part of your path, that would also be represented by the fifth house. It's about creations of your body, whether actual humans or creative projects of all kinds. Sixth house governs your physical body as far as your health. It also governs your day-to-day routine and kind of what you do throughout your day, your schedule, how you're actually literally spending your time. Seventh house is all about partnerships, romantic partnerships, business partnerships, any relationship, partnership things are represented here in the 7th house. 8th house, that's a fun one. We sometimes refer to it as the house of sex, death, and other people's money. Think about these 3 topics with me: sex, death, other people's money. None of them are bad, right? But there is an energy of stuff to deal with all of them that can have a shadow to it. If the 7th house is about partnerships, the 8th house holds the shadows of partnership. It holds all the stuff that we hold, that we kind of tuck away in a closet somewhere and would prefer not to look at. It also holds trauma. It holds all the deep, dark stuff. 9th house is all about expansion. It's about travel. It's about philosophy, religion or spiritual beliefs, expanding your horizons, higher education. 10th house is about career and what you're actually up to in the world. 11th house is about groups, society, how you show up in the world, but it's a little different than the first house. It's more about how you show up in professional organizations or friend groups, your communities. And the 12th house is the house of the unconscious. This is the deep, dark subconscious realms where there's a lot of fascinating stuff going on that we may not be quite connected to, except perhaps in our dreams, in our intuition, in the stuff that bubbles up from the surface. So that's the overview. And again, we could look at any transit that is happening at any moment, and we could identify, interesting, what's the story being told here? What's the story of that gigantic new moon that we just had in my 9th house? It was cool. I got some travel plans that have come out of it in a big way, some big surprises opening up, some expansive stuff. So wherever a particular event falls, you can look at what house it falls in and get a clue to the nature of the transformation, the shift, the up-leveling, the growth, the evolution of you that is happening. Hope this is helpful. Like and subscribe if you want more. And if you want me to break down your chart for you, links in the comments if you want to work with me privately, and we can go through your whole chart and look in depth at what's going on.